Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be covering which relics are worth to level, how much to level them, and which relics are worth salvaging and throwing in the scrap heap to fuel your character's power. Relics are a massive part of your character's endgame power and potential, but it comes with a caveat. That only is the case if you get the right stats on them. You're looking for the right main stat and the right substats, and preferably the right set as well. Now, in terms of what you should farm and what set you should go for, I'm going to link a video down below for you guys to check out if you're interested in the most up-to-date info from me on that topic. But what we're going to be talking about in this video is going to be which ones to level up, which ones to scrap, but also how to scout out and get some special modifiers for free on your relics without investing too much experience. Alright, so let's cover the big question first. Which relics should you even bother leveling? Well, let's dive into it. In order to answer that question, we first have to find a character who needs a relic, as we're using these relics on characters. Wouldn't make much sense to equip them, not to a character. Alright, so in this example, let's choose Yangqing. He wants a chest piece. So we've got a few relics that we've farmed up, and it pays to have some relics in supply, so don't salvage too many of them, and we'll get into that in a second, but you want to hang on to as many relics as is feasible so that you can do the process I'm about to talk about. So it needs a chest piece. The first thing is going to be understanding what chest piece is Yangqing looking for. Well, the main and most important thing with all characters is their main stat, which of course is going to be this orange or yellow icon here, which is, for example, in this case, speed. So we want to get the main stat right. And in order to understand that, you can check out any guide on pretty much any character on YouTube, and chances are they're going to tell you exactly which main stats you're looking for on every single piece. And I would hazard a guess to say that a Yangqing guide is probably going to tell me to find critical strike damage on his chest piece. So let's do just that. Now, a quick way to do that is to go ahead and use the filter. You can go ahead and click main stat here, and you can go ahead and click the main stat that you are looking for. They're all here. Let's select critical strike damage, as that is his best in slot piece. Alright, so we've got some hits here. The next step is going to be deciding which one of these is going to suit your purposes best, or maybe none of them are good enough and you're going to say that you're not leveling any of them. The question is, how do you make that decision? Well, we now need to move on to substats and sets, where things get a little bit harder, and I think a lot of people get a little stuck. So every character is going to have a best in slot set, and they're also going to have a substat priority. And understanding which one to go for on which piece can make things a little bit difficult. And it's not really something you can have a hard and fast rule for. If you find a piece which is offset, meaning not part of the set you're looking for in your guide, well, it's possible that it's just better because it has insane substats. And that's absolutely fine, and you'd want to level that piece up. But it's also possible that there's something which is on set which is a little bit less impressive in the substat department, and you would want to go with that instead. And then there's also rarity to consider. It's much better to use a lower rarity piece which has the right main stat as well as good substats and is on set, compared to a gold piece which has no substats, might be offset and has the main stat correct. So there's a lot to consider. So how are you going to make heads or tails on all of this here? So the answer is that you're going to have to do a little bit of detective work and comparisons on all of the options you have available. Now, what's going to be interesting is whether or not you have a set which is close to or nearly complete. So in my case, I do have a set which is almost complete. So using this piece here would actually take my set from 3 pieces to 4 pieces, giving me an additional 6% speed. Now that's a pretty big deal, and equipping this piece here essentially has an extra line on it saying that I get 6 speed over all of my other options. So if you have a similar scenario and you're going to be able to complete a set, you definitely have to take that into consideration when measuring up all of the pieces against each other. And that's how sometimes purple pieces, even with bad substats, can sometimes beat out gold pieces even if the main stat is correct. So in the case of my Yangqing, let's treat this 6% speed as 6 additional speed and evaluate all of our options here as a bit of an example. So the first piece here, the Musketeer of Wildwheat, the one that we've got as a front runner here, it has the crit damage damage, but it also has 3.8% attack, but it also has 2 other really bad substats. So we've got 1 substat here and 6 speed. That's okay, that's a pretty big start. Let's take a look at this one here. It's also got attack here, 3.4% though, so it's losing out and I don't get the set. So we can pretty much knock this one out of the running. This one over here has 4.3% attack. Ooh, okay, definitely improving things here. But it definitely isn't going to be beating out our extra speed here that we're going to be getting from the Musketeer of Wildwood. So far we still have a front runner. Okay, this one's got 2 speed here on the chest piece, but it doesn't have any other stats, so we're losing attack and we're also losing the set bonus. So we can decide, ding ding ding, this one is the winner, at least for the golds here that we've got, and we can absolutely wholeheartedly say that this is the one we'd want to go with. But we do also have another contender here. What's this? A lightning piece which has already been leveled and also has some pretty insane substats. So this one here, if we take this gold piece to level 9, as kind of compare the two here, we would have a more fair comparison. This one would have more critical strike damage than the level 9, and it only has 1 speed. This one's going to have 6 speed because of the set bonus. So, you know, 2.7% attack versus our 3.8% attack. And this last one here, the crit rate, isn't going to be enough to make up for the difference. So I think overall we can confidently say that this critical strike damage piece here is going to be our choice for our Yang Qing. Now, it's entirely possible if you didn't have any set pieces on anything here, you could go ahead and make an argument for a lot of the different pieces here, because you wouldn't have to contend with that 6 speed. But what I want to show you guys is that there is other things to consider, and it's actually pretty easy when you jump in here. You filter everything down and you just take a look at your options, and you can go ahead and make the call pretty easily. So now that we know what we've got going on here, we're going to want to level this piece up and see what's going to happen. So the question is, how much do we level this piece up? Well, once you've got a relic which you've decided that you want to level up, and it's actually a set piece which you might actually consider wanting to use in the long term, you can go ahead and be pretty confident that you might want to take that piece up. Now, a good rule of thumb when you're looking at pieces, if they are the right set and they're the right main stat, what you're going to be looking at is going to be the following. You can take any piece, any at all, which you want to try and check out and see if it's good to level 3. And I would recommend doing just that. So what you want to do is not do what I just did here. You want to go ahead and put in some blue pieces. Don't level up too much all at once. You want to take your time. You want to see what's going on with the relic and see how it develops, because it's possible it might take a turn for the worse, like this one did here. So right now I have 1 damaging substat, which isn't ideal. This is definitely not going to be a best in slot piece for my Yang Qing by any stretch of the imagination. We've got the main stat right, we've got 1 substat, but now we have effect resistance. We much would have rather something like critical strike rating or really anything else other than that stat there, but you can't have everything. So is this piece bad? Is it written off because we have effect hit resistance? Well, no. Any piece that you have and you have an interest in, feel free to take it to level 3. There's no doubt about it. That is a very small investment to see whether or not a piece is good. And I'll show you guys a trick in a second here about the level 3, which is special. Now, I still want to investigate this piece because my Yang Qing really needs a chest piece, and it is on the right set. It's got the right main stat and it has 1 good substat here. So we could absolutely take it to level 6, no problems. Taking it to level 6, if it's got the right main stat, it's got a substat, it's the right set, you can absolutely take it to level 6. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's take it to level 6 and we'll reevaluate the piece here. Alright, so leveling it up, here we go. Alright, so we've got another miss on the substat. So if you guys are curious, every 3 levels that you invest into a relic, you either get a new substat or you level a substat up. So that's why we always do it in multiples of 3. You always want to see what's going to happen with the relic. Don't just slam it all in and max it out to 15. You want to see what's going on, because now this relic has really taken a turn for the worse. It's going downhill, and it's going downhill fast. So it is definitely becoming less and less competitive by the second. We're going to have to really take a look at this. So we haven't gotten any extra damage or any extra power from leveling it up to level 6 other than the base stat, which we already knew we were getting. So the question now becomes, should we take this to level 9? Well, I'm pretty sure that any relic that you have which has the correct main stat as well as 1 good substat, and you've got it as a reasonable set, you know, maybe not too crazy, it's fine to take it to level 9. So let's take this bad boy to level 9 and finish the deed here and see what happens. Okay, all the way to level 9. Let's see. Okay, we got defense again. Now, this is the point where you need to start and stop and consider. So we do have a set piece, which we like the set of. We do have the main stat, which we like the main stat of, and we have one substat, but it didn't get upgraded at all. This piece is very far from going to be something that you're going to be hanging on to for a long time. It's not going to be good. So I would advise in situations exactly like this, you should leave it at level 9. Now, there is a case to be made for taking it to level 12 if you need power immediately, but that ultimately will be a waste of stamina. Every single time you take it up 3 levels or more and more levels, you're going to be getting more and more expensive in terms of how much it costs to invest in that piece. And at this point, it's probably better just to leave it at level 9 and wait for an additional piece or a new piece that we get, which might come along with better substats, which we can get luckier on and get better rolls in the substats for. You know, if this had gone 3 times into attack, you know, in terms of the substats, you know, that would be a completely different piece and it'd be a different story. But when you miss all 3 times like I did just then, it's a really, really big sign to kind of, you know, take a look and, you know, take stock and maybe move on to another piece and wait for another piece to drop, which has good main stats and reasonable substats, and try again. All right, so what were the takeaways from that little demonstration there? Well, your main stat is important and you need to have leveled relics on your characters. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do any content. So if a piece has your main stat and it is also purple or gold, you can go ahead and confidently take that up to level 6, no problemo. Any piece, any set, even if it's not the right set, if it's got the main stat you need, take it up to 6, no drama. If it's the set you need and it's got the main set you need, you can also take that up to level 9, no issues at all. If it has good substats, even better. You can confidently take that up if it's the right set and it's got the right main stat. Now, when it comes to whether or not you should take a piece to level 12 though, oof, now we're getting into a discussion. Pieces that should go to level 12 are only pieces which are a rare main stat type, like speed or energy recharge rate, or a piece which has good substats, at least in my opinion. And a rule of thumb I want to give you guys is going to be that you should look for gloves as well as helmets with at least 2 substats your character wants before you take a piece to level 12. And it'd be ideal if 1 or 2 of the rolls which happened up to level 9 hit one of the substats and leveled it up. Now, when it comes to body armors, boots, planar spears, and link ropes, what you want to be looking for is going to be, you know, having the right main stat, the right set, but also 1 additional substat which you're looking for on your characters. And if it hits at all, you know, going up to level 9, again, you know, like not like the example we just showed, you can be pretty confident you can take that to level 12. So if my Yang Qing's chest piece hit the attack even once, I would have taken that bad boy to level 12 and felt just fine about it. So those are my rules of thumb. Now, when it comes to level 15, I save this only for the best of the best relics like the one you're seeing here. It's critical strike damage, it's speed boots, and it's critical strike rating. You should save this only for the precious relics, which you know you're going to be using for the long term, as it takes as much XP to get to level 12 as it does to get to level 15. Those last 3 levels is as much as getting an entirely new relic all the way up to 12. The amount of relics you could have scouted and looked for all the way to get to that relic to 15 is immense. So it is a big investment and you should only take the tippity-toppity the best of the best to maximum level. We're talking 3 substats which you want on gloves and helmets and 2 substats that you want on the chest and boots, planar sphere, or link rope. Of course, there are some exceptions to that rule like speed boots and energy recharge ropes, but for the most part, that would be my advice. Alright, now that we know our priority list and we're fully confident in both gold and purple relics and how high to take them, I want to show you guys how to scout for special substats. So when you get into the super endgame and you want to kind of get more substats on your pieces and get more value, there is a special little trick which I'm sure a lot of Genshin Impact players know, but I want to show you guys nonetheless so you guys have all the info. So when you're farming up relics and you're getting a ton of them, specifically gloves and helmets, you're going to find pieces like this super often. Now remember, our rule for taking a piece to 12 on gloves and helmets was 2 good substats, not 1 but 2. And this piece here, it's got 2 bad substats and 1 good substat here. So this would be like, man, I don't want to level this because it's only got 1 good substat. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can do something called relic scouting. And relic scouting is pretty easy. All you have to do is come here to the relic and invest a little bit of your relic experience and get it up to level 3. Because remember, at level 3, you get that breakpoint and you get a new substat and you can see the 4th substat, which on every piece of gear, there is a total of 4 possible, which is gold or purple. So So here, we're going to see what the force substat is, and if it's a damaging one, well, that is a big deal, because then we can take those gloves up and see what they're going to do. All right, it's defense, so we didn't get anything good there. That's a disaster, right? We just wasted our relic experience. Well, not quite, actually. Now, in the event that you miss like I did and get a pretty much useless relic, it's not a big deal. First and foremost, we invested a tiny amount of relic experience into this item. And what's cool is you can get most of that relic experience back. Now, you might be thinking, ooh, gold relics, those are way too valuable to do anything bad with. But if you don't have a use for this relic, the best thing to do with it is to use it as experience for one of your other relics. Now, obviously, if this relic has any use to you at all, don't salvage it, don't scrap it, don't get rid of it. But for me, at least, and I'm sure for a lot of people, they are probably looking more at having a character with defense being using the defense set or the shielder set. Now, you can of course hang on to it, but for me at least, this has no use. So what I'm going to do with this piece is actually feed it into one of the other pieces that I want to level up more. Maybe like this piece here, which has HP, effect resistance, and speed for my Bailu. And I'm going to use it as experience. And that's one thing I want to give to you guys. When you're actually using your gold relics and leveling them up and all sorts of stuff like that, anything to do with gold relics, never salvage them into the scrap, which allows you to craft 10 gold relics into a 1 new one. It's absolutely not worth it. You want the relic experience at this stage of progression to level up relics and to get better relics. So don't do that. Make sure you always use gold relics you don't want as experience. And this playstyle synergizes greatly with that objective. Relic experience is precious, it's rare, and we need as much of it as we can get, even if that comes in the form of gold relics you don't want. Now, when does this happen and when is this good? Well, okay, let's take a look at a winning scenario. So this pair of gloves here I scouted. It started out with defense, attack, and effect resistance, and I scouted it to level 3 and I got critical strike damage. So that is a big hit, and it turns it into a pair of gloves that we are now interested in maybe taking a 6, a 9, and maybe even 12 if we get some pretty good hits. Now you might be asking, okay, what about purple relics? Can I scout purple relics because, you know, they look a bit different, you know, they definitely don't have as much going on them. Can I scout purple relics? Absolutely. Now it's definitely less important to scout purple relics because you're gonna obviously want to get to the gold relics eventually, but if you're earlier on the progression and you want to get some better gear, you know, maybe get a few Memory of Chaos things done, well, you can go ahead and scout some purple relics as well. So you can see here that these gloves have some pretty insane substats on them already. These could even rival some gold gloves with the substats they've got going on here. And you could absolutely scout these gloves. But my rule of thumb here for you guys is to only scout purple relics which have 3 substats overall. And the substats which can be found on purple relics can either be 3 or 2 substats. And I would only recommend scouting the 3 substat ones because the 2 substat ones are, you're gonna have to take them to 6 to see all the substats on offer, which is definitely not that optimal. So I'd go ahead and only do 3 substat ones for purple relics. And you can see these 2 have 3 substats. These ones specifically attack and crit rate. Geez, that is good. And then these ones also have 3 substats a lot of the time as well. Oh, we got one there. And that is going to be my overall guidance for you guys. All right, so the final question, which we need to answer, is going to be which relics can you salvage safely without giving yourself any cause for concern? Well, this is actually a bit of a doozy. So first and foremost, it's pretty safe to assume you guys can salvage all the blue relics which you have on your account. But then it becomes a little bit complicated as it's really going to depend on what relics you already have. Now, in order to answer this question, I'm going to give you guys an example and you're going to be able to apply that example to yourself. So overall, my characters are pretty well geared right now. You know, I have gold relics of most pieces. And what I want to bring you guys to attention to is the amount of speed boots that I have. So I've got a lot of speed boots, man. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 speed boots, 6 speed boots. And then I also have a few other boots here, which are on my shielders, which are speed boots. So I've got no shortage of speed boots. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means that when I'm farming up wild wheat sets, which I'm going to be farming up a lot of, I don't actually need to worry about any of the purple speed boots because I already have a ton of gold speed boots and the gold speed boots are better than the purple speed boots. So I can go ahead and salvage all speed boots which are purple and below. You know, I might take a look at the substats here and there, but I can be pretty confident that most of the speed boots can go. And this also applies for other pieces, like chest pieces. Like, you know, let's say you got a ton of outgoing healing pieces, which I do actually have. I've got outgoing healing here, outgoing healing here, and I think I even have some more spare ones. Now, because I have outgoing healing on lockdown for wild wheat, chances are I'm probably not going to want any purple pieces, so I can salvage those safely because I already have a better one ones which are gold. And you guys can go through and make little mental notes about which ones you feel like you can salvage safely on your account. Now, it goes without saying you should be very careful about salvaging things, especially gold relics. But when you get to a point where you're confident that you have better pieces than what you're looking at, then you can salvage them. Now, it's worth noting that you do want to be careful with what you're doing, because there are characters which are coming up which may have stats which you may not have a use for now, but down the line you're going to wish you kept that relic. A good example of this is Blade. We know that he's a damaging character which scales with HP, so you don't want to be salvaging the relics which have like HP plus damage. You know, that is a good combo which is going to be useful later on. So that's going to be my guidance there on salvaging. All blues, salvage them. Purples which you have better golds of, salvage them. Golds which you have better golds of already leveled, salvage them. And you should be pretty fine with that. It's also worth noting I do actually salvage all my healing pieces from my wild wheat farming. And the reason for that is that I don't see the healing set as something which I really want to level up or consider at this point in time. Even though I've gotten some pretty insane pieces, I much prefer the wild wheat set. So you can also take that approach as well. This is a big one if you're farming the quantum set. You might be able to take that damage reduction set and be like, I don't want any of that. And you can salvage all that. But that's a decision you guys are going to have to come to and make on your own. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this relic leveling and scouting video. I'm going to get back to camping out and pitching my tent outside of the wild wheat relic farming zone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more and like the video if you like this one particularly. Until next time, cheers.